We're still months away from the first votes being cast in the 2024 Republican presidential race, almost 500 days actually. But already there are some whispers that the contest is effectively over before it ever really got started, with former President Donald Trump walking away with the GOP nomination. Right now in national polling, we are way behind, Steve Cordes, a national spokesman for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' super PAC, said on Sunday, adding this: "I'll be the first to admit that I believe in being really blunt and really honest. It's an uphill battle," which is actually true. In a Fox News poll that was released recently, Trump took 56% of the vote to just 22% for DeSantis, while no one else in the field cracked double digits. An NBC News poll has the race at 51% for Trump to 22% for DeSantis. In fact, Trump's average lead, according to Real Clear Politics' polling average, is now over 30 points. And what's even more concerning for DeSantis and the rest of the field is that Trump's lead and his vote share have been steady for months now. The last time DeSantis was within 15 points of Trump was early March. Trump's lead has not only widened, but stabilized over that period of time. Now, just for fun and to be informed, compare those numbers to where the 2008 Democratic race between frontrunner Hillary Clinton and challenger Barack Obama was at this time of their nominating calendar. So in early July 2007, Clinton held a 14-point lead over Obama, 14. The largest her lead ever got in the race was 28 points in the fall of 2015. And unlike Obama, who was already showing signs of life in polling, DeSantis appears to be going in the wrong direction, with his numbers flatlining even after his formal announcement, which, by the way, was sort of a disaster. Now, the argument from the DeSantis team is that the numbers in early states like Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina actually look better for him. Now, the problem there, at least as I see it, is twofold. One, there's almost zero quality data coming out of Iowa where DeSantis has to do well. And two, the eye test doesn't seem to back up the notion that Trump is somehow weaker in those early states. To that second point, take this Politico report from a South Carolina rally that Trump held over the weekend. Let me quote from it. "In front of a crowd local officials estimated may have reached 50,000, Trump barged onto the home state turf of two of his primary opponents, Nikki Haley and Senator Tim Scott. The size of Trump's audience and its fervor was the latest ominous sign not only for them, but for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Trump's top rival, who is desperately trying to peel off part of Trump's base in this first in the South primary state." Yeah, 50,000 people. That is a stunning number, especially because it didn't come from Trump's campaign, which has a long history of exaggerating crowd size. The largest inauguration in history, period. Now, the reality of the primary process is this. The race is entering a period of summer stasis, I'll call it. Voters check out of politics even more than usual during the summer months as they travel and take time off from work, and they pay less attention by nature, which means very little is likely to change in the race between now and Labor Day. And once we get to Labor Day, you have effectively 3 months before voters start voting, which is not very long. In short, it's getting late pretty early in this race. It's not immediately clear to me either how DeSantis is going to make up that ground on Trump. He appears to be working to paint himself as more conservative than the former president on LGBTQ issues, judges, and abortion, among other things. Now, I'm personally very skeptical that running to Trump's ideological right will work in this race. Trump's appeal, especially among those most conservative of voters, is far more tonal than it is issues-based. They don't really seem to care what he said in the past on issues. They just like that he's tough and willing to smack around Democrats, the media, and yes, even fellow Republicans. It's also not obvious to me that if DeSantis continues to stumble, that someone else will pick up his mantle and run with it. Tim Scott and Nikki Haley are both credible and serious candidates who appear to have generated very little in the way of excitement behind their candidacies to date. Mike Pence, who is running third in most polling, is hated by the Trump base for not overturning the 2020 election, which is sort of a problem. Chris Christie has built a bit of momentum with his relentless critique of Trump, but seems hard-capped because so many Republicans say they simply will not vote for him under any circumstances. Everyone in the race, other than really Christie, seems at some level to be waiting for Trump to implode so that they can pick up the pieces of his voting coalition. No one wants to be too mean to Trump for fear that if and when he drops out, they will have unnecessarily pissed off his voters. But here's the thing, Trump isn't leaving the race. He said as much, bluntly. There's no scenario I can imagine where Trump gets out. Not another indictment, not a conviction, nothing. That's especially true when the race looks like a coronation for him, which increasingly appears to be what is happening. Now, I've been operating under the assumption for a while now that Republican voters want a real race for their nomination, and that if DeSantis isn't the guy, and there are increasing signs that he isn't the guy, then they will land on someone else, maybe Tim Scott, as a serious and credible challenger. My theory on this has long been informed by Double Dribble, the seminal 90s basketball video game that I spent a lot of time playing. Double Dribble. In that game, no matter how many points you were ahead by in the first half, the computer always managed a superhuman comeback in the second half. You couldn't make shots, and the computer made every single shot. And then suddenly, it was a 2-point game with 30 seconds left. Voters, I've always thought, are sort of like that computer. They like close contests. They like people fighting like crazy to win. They like the drama. So what? I'm beginning to rethink that theory as just another rule of the game that doesn't apply to Donald Trump. He's running away and hiding at the top of this race, and no one below him seems to have a credible case to make against him. I would never declare a race over this many months before any voters have actually voted or will vote. Stuff changes, always. But I will say that Trump is the prohibitive frontrunner in this race in a way I never thought he would be even 6 months ago.